Hey, what's up everyone? And well, you probably have seen in my latest post, I finally made it to Epic Universe. That's right, the newest Universal Park in Orlando, Florida. But before I get to that, I have to address a couple of new updates and changes to the main parks that were there before this one, before I get to the main event. So, first things first, yes, obviously as you know, Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket, the big, red, thrilling, but rather rough, but rocking roller coaster is no more. Yep, here's a couple of photos that indicate that it is no longer around. There's construction going on, and as you guessed, it's going to be a roller coaster that's going to be replacing it. It's going to be made by Intamin, the same company manufacturer that did Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure and VelociCoaster, so I think it's going to be a win right here. What it's going to be replaced by is still all speculation, and it's very up in the air. Rumors are floating around that it's going to be either Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, or Fast and Furious. Who knows what it's going to be, so I'll keep you up to date when there's actual confirmation of what it's going to be, but we can only assume that it's going to be something great and hopefully much more smoother. Anyway, another new thing is also Poseidon's Fury, the attraction located in the Lost Continents section, that's rather dying to say the least. It's kind of a shame that once Harry Potter took over and it took away the Dueling Dragons ride, rethemed it to Dragon Challenge, and now of course that's no more. The only thing left that's really open is, well, Mythos and a couple of gift shops. Kind of sad, considering that was originally supposed to go in Disney's Animal Kingdom as Beastly Kingdom, if you know the history behind that. But let's not get too off topic here. Also, the 8 Voyages of Sinbad show has been gone for years too, so what's going to replace them is, again, all upper speculation as well. There are rumors stating that it might be Legend of Zelda, and honestly, I think this would be a perfectly appropriately themed replacement. I mean, it's fantasy. Why not, right? You could take that big trident hand rock sculpture thing and just put a Master Sword in a hand. It would fit the theming pretty well. There's even rumors saying that Mythos, which is still thankfully open, may be closing too as well with the rest of the area. I think that's kind of a bad idea because the place is still great. Yeah, you gotta make reservations and everything because it's one of the top theme park restaurants. I think if they build a Legend of Zelda attraction nearby, they should just keep the menu and the scenery the same, but rename it to Zora's Domain. I think that would be perfect right there. Obviously, it's not my decision, but this is just my opinion right here, and I think Legend of Zelda would be perfectly fit for this area. I mean, they already have Nintendo attractions. It's a win right there for Nintendo and Universal. Legend of Zelda needs attractions at Universal. So it would probably either go there or Epic Universe, because, well, Epic Universe, they're not done with building stuff. It's only the beginning, as you probably heard. And, well, also there's been rumors floating around about the Simpsons Springfield land because of Disney's buyout with 20th Century Fox that it might be getting replaced by Pokemon or something. Yeah, it probably will happen. I mean, the attraction is over 10 years old, so I gave it 2 rides, and it'll probably be my last, maybe not, that I did just recently. Whatever. It is what it is. I mean, it used to be Back to the Future, the ride, but yeah, another big change that I noticed since the last time I went there is the Kong Skull Island attraction no longer uses 3D glasses, much like the Despicable Me Minion Mayhem. Unlike that attraction, which I didn't mind, this one I kind of think was a mistake. I mean, not for nothing, but I think the 3D effects are kind of lacking without it. I know some people may consider it annoying, but I didn't mind it on this attraction. So, yeah. Just my opinion, I consider it rather a downgrade compared to using the 3D glasses, but other changes they made were the addition of express lines to VelociCoaster, and finally Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. About damn time already, Universal. I mean, Christ, the waits for that would get insanely long. Pretty much any hour at any time I was there. I mean, yeah, it's still a fantastic ride, and finally I was able to get on it at nighttime, and the express line actually got pretty lengthy at that hour. I mean, it looks gorgeous. Who can blame people? And getting back to Universal Studios, yeah, You actually have a new parade, which I do recommend seeing. It usually starts at around 2 o'clock. It goes around the front and has most of the parade floats from classic movies like Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park, Ghostbusters, and a bunch of others. So even though those attractions aren't there anymore, it's great to see that they have acknowledgement for those classic films. And, well, it's obviously weather permitting. Another thing they added in the front of the park as soon as you enter is the Wicked experience, which is, well, a whole thing of props from the movies. Yeah, they know, the new film that came out last year, Part 1 to be exact, and of course with For Good, Part 2 coming out. Well, at the time I visited these parks to be exact, and why not? I mean, they're made by Universal, and, well, there's also merchandise you can buy in some parts of it. You also have a photo op section with the Wicked Witch's broom. I mean, you can't go wrong there. I would say it's definitely a much better replacement than a stinking Hello Kitty gift shop, wouldn't you say? Guess you could say it's a wicked good time there. And also, as you know, the last time I visited in 2021, Shrek 4D was still operating, and of course was on its way out. But its replacement is VillainCon Minion Blast. This attraction is okay. That's all I have to say. You stand on a conveyor belt moving thing, you pick up a little gun, and you just shoot things on screens. That's about it. If you like the movies, mainly the prequels, which is what it's based around, you might like it, you may not. Yeah, my honest thoughts are, to keep it plain and simple, it's pretty mediocre and pretty forgettable. Honestly, it'll make you want to ride Men in Black Alien Attack instead, which is definitely much more well-themed, I would say. I mean, just look at the design to this queue and the ride itself, with much more practical effects, and you actually get in a cart, which you not only shoot things, but you also spin around a bit, so it creates a bit of a thrill at the same time. This one is pretty short and doesn't really offer much. So, it's a little cutesy, but honestly, it's pretty forgettable. At least you could say it's better than Fast and Furious Supercharged, but that ain't saying much. It's interesting how they retheme this whole section in the front of the park as soon as you enter to Minion Land. They even took out the classic Monsters Cafe and rethemed it to Minions Cafe. So, okay, I get it. It's Universal's cash in on the whole franchise, but this attraction in general, it's just pretty forgettable. You do it once, you may enjoy it. Honestly, I kind of forgot about it. So, my final verdict is a Wii Remote with Wii Motion Plus down and a plain Wii Remote up. And I should also mention that Woody Woodpecker's Kids Zone, that you probably remember had Woody Woodpecker's Nut House Coaster, as well as A Day in the Park with Barney, Curious George, and most notably Fiefel's Playground, which was a big staple of my childhood. I remember going on this one when I was a kid and had all the water slides and everything like that. All those, except thankfully for E.T. Adventure, which is getting spared thanks to Spielberg from what I heard. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon as long as he's alive and breathing. And, well, it's now DreamWorks Land. So, yeah, even though Shrek 4D show, which has got replaced by the Minions VillainCon Blast, Shrek is not completely gone, and DreamWorks Land actually makes sense considering that Universal owns DreamWorks Animations. Woody Woodpecker's Nut House Coaster is basically rethemed, not torn down, but rethemed to the Trolls Coaster based off the animated movies, as well as Shrek Swamp, which I believe is in place of Fiefel's Playground. You also have other meet and greets, like with Donkey and some of the Shrek characters, which originally was by where Shrek 4D was, but of course that's obviously Minions or Illumination characters, I believe. And also you have Kung Fu Panda attraction. I believe it's some kind of show of some sort. So yeah, it may be lacking a little bit compared to the water slides and everything else that was there, but take it for what it is. They have to make changes for today's audiences, so farewell and happy trails, Fievel. Thanks for the good memories from my childhood, but I guess you gotta move on into new stuff. But anyway, on to the main event. Now that I got all the changes out of the way, and aside from Volcano Bay doing away with their tapu system, yeah, I went there too. You just put your hand up against any of the interactive stuff that you come across that you used to put the wristwatches up against. But without further ado, Epic Universe. Yeah, all I could say is this place was absolutely, like the name says, epic. I mean, just look at the designs of this. As soon as you walk in, the entranceway, you got the Bellagio-like fountain. Whether you see it at daytime or at nighttime, this whole entire place lights up and it just looks absolutely stunning and amazing. I mean, just look at this. I'm lost for words here. Of course, the front entrance section of the park where you first walk in is called Celestial Park. It features a carousel, which I did not go on. So keep in mind, people, I did not go on every single attraction, and I felt like I should have gotten the express pass. But, hey, it is what it is. And I did get on most of the well-received attractions, and most notably in this section, the Stardust Racers. Yeah, the dueling coaster, and I'm glad to see one of these back after the removal of the Dueling Dragons, later themed to Dragon Challenge, which unfortunately removed the dueling feature after a so-called incident that occurred and pretty much killed its popularity and led to its removal. But of course, unlike that one, it's not an invert coaster, if that makes any sense. You know, the track is below you, and it is a dueling launch coaster where both trains go exactly at the same time. But I can't talk about this one and ignore the fact of what happened a few months ago that you probably have heard about, the incident which involved a passenger who unfortunately passed away. I do send my condolences to him as well as his family and friends. I mean, nothing like this should ever happen to anybody when going on these kind of rides. So, if you're going to go on this one, since it's back open, be safe, because this is a pretty intense coaster, and you have to choose one. I only went on the green one. I did not get to go on the yellow one, but I was told as you were boarding that they are very similar, and I've heard many people say that the green one is a little more intense, and there's multiple trains. So the loading process and the lines move pretty fast, even though it said 45 minutes of a wait time. It only ended up being about 35. Though the queue line doesn't really have a lot to offer or much to see, aside from the building design, which is pretty unique. I do like that statue in the front of the ride. It looks like a meteor comet, which is obviously symbolic to this attraction because that's what it's supposed to represent, two racing meteor coasters. You do also have to put any loose articles, including your phone or anything, in lockers that are located in the queue, which is no surprise considering, like I said before, there's at least one inversion on this. The trains have a flux capacitor in the back of them. Did Doc Brown invent this? I know the Back to the Future ride is gone, but okay. Anyway, after you exit the station, it sends you around a slow turn just before you hit the first launch, and I mean it launches you. Maybe not as fast as Velocicoaster, but being that this ride, like that one, also has only a lap bar restraint, you literally feel like you're gonna fly out of your seat. I mean, the ejector airtime is crazy, especially after going up this first Top Hat hill, the tallest one on the entire ride, and then up and down a couple of small ones, in which you still get some crazy ejector airtime. And then you go over around the front here, right in front of that big comet statue that I complimented, and then to the second launch, and boy, once again does it launch you. It brings you into the ride's only inversion, where you come almost face to face with the riders on the other train. I mean, wow. You want to talk about insane. All this with a lap bar restraint. That's where it gives you all the crazy airtime and everything. Then after that, a couple more twists and turns and small hills as you're racing the other train to the finish line. And yes, one train always finishes ahead of the other. I'm not sure how it's programmed. And yes, you get a photo on this one no matter which one you pick. There I am right there. But a very fun, thrilling experience for a roller coaster, probably the most intense in Epic Universe. Should I say almost out of this world. And yes, you gotta experience or at least see this thing at nighttime all lit up. It just looks spectacular. Like two comets racing each other. Couldn't be any more symbolic than that. So, my final verdict on this one, a Wii Remote Wii Motion Plus up, and a plain Wii Remote up. So, on to the next section of the park that I went to after going on this ride, the Dark Universe. Yeah, I think we can ignore the fact that it bears the same name as a failed start to a shared universe that actually is a remake of itself, considering this whole shared universe concept started with the classic Universal horror monsters. So it's more or less was trying to remake itself, but with that horrid Mummy reboot, it failed. But anyway, this section, unlike most of the parts of this new park, which don't have many shady spots to get out of the sun, I recommend bringing sunscreen if you go here, if it's a sunny day to be exact. This part actually is a little shady, and I should say a bit dark. So I guess the name doesn't lie right there. And man, as I said, the theming to this park is amazing, and this section is no exception either. I mean, just look at all this. The gravestones, Frankenstein's castle, all this horror-themed merchandise and everything like that. It just looks like something straight out of a horror movie. You got a restaurant that I ate lunch at, and, well, even though, of course, I was sad to see the classic Monsters Cafe leave Universal Studios, I think this one is almost good enough to fill the void. It's not the same thing, obviously, but it's almost as good. Food was good. I mean, just look at that bread on that chicken sandwich. You got a coffin thing that you can stand in, which makes a perfect photo spot there. Got the Invisible Man, costumed character. I didn't, unfortunately, see the windmill that supposedly lights up with fire. From what I've heard, it was down for maintenance. I know that's by the Curse of the Werewolf spinning coaster, which I unfortunately did not get to go on. The lines were kind of lengthy, and I heard some people say, yeah, it's kind of lackluster. I saw the footage on YouTube. It looks okay. But, to my opinion, I was thankfully able to do a walk-on the single rider queue on Monsters Unchained, which is located inside of Frankenstein's castle, and man, talk about amazing. Should I say, it's alive? Yeah. This one not only revolves around Frankenstein, but also Dracula, the Wolfman, the Mummy, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Phantom of the Opera, and even Victoria Frankenstein and Yegor. The mechanics to it are very similar to Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, so yeah, it can make you a little oozy, but actually this one wasn't as bad. But yeah, it's very similar. It's got a great use of both screens, as well as physical animatronic effects, and there is a bit of a story to it with bringing the monsters like Frankenstein alive and trying to defeat Dracula and all these characters and everything like that. It just looks and feels amazing. The atmosphere is all there. For any classic horror monster fan, this is definitely a must-do. And yes, you get your photo. I did not buy it, unfortunately. I mean, I bought enough photos at these parks as it is. I mean, you get so many of them on these rides. But all I could say is you will have a scary, awesome, thrilling time on this one. Not only is the ride great, but also the queue line design that matches the atmosphere of it perfectly. I mean, if you want the best attraction to ride in the Dark Universe section of this park, this right here is the star of the show. So, my final verdict is, rockin' Wii Motion Plus up and a plain Weird Mode up. It's a scary fun time. So, on to the next section that I went to. Harry Potter, yes, another Wizarding World in another Universal Park. This one's themed around, I believe, Paris. I mean, you got the Eiffel Tower logo there, a replica of the Arc of Triumph, and man, it looks incredible. I mean, these Harry Potter sections, they don't cheap out when it comes to presentation and design and everything like that. There are some sections where you can use your wands, of course. You can get butterbeer. I mean, it wouldn't be a Harry Potter section without that, am I right? It has plenty of good wizarding magic here. And of course, one ride that I went on, which just shattered the record for longest wait time I've ever waited for, with 2+ hours. And mainly because it was closing early the day I went, so I had to get on it the best chance I got. And I did, after waiting all that time. Thankfully in shady spots, because it was mostly inside and it is an indoor attraction. But man, the design to this queue line as well as the ride just looks amazing. I mean, just look at this. Once you get past this first maze and make it inside of this tunnel, which is programmed to set off this green mist with a sound effect. and then right into this big area. I mean, just look at this. Wow. I mean, they went above and beyond to keep you entertained despite a long wait. And it's obviously all about the trial of Dolores Umbridge. Some things are obviously screen effects, but you got some physical animatronic effects too as well in this whole area. And even after you walk through this, into another room, and then another, 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 and then eventually you make your way up, then down the stairs, and then you're finally on the ride. And yeah, it was great. You're on an elevator-like attraction where it's a simulator, as you'd expect, with some screen effects mostly. And like I said, it's all about the trial of Dolores Umbridge and trying to bring her to justice for the crimes that she committed. She attempts to escape using the magic wand, unleashes all sorts of hell and creatures and Death Eaters, and even messes with time and everything like that. And, well, it's pretty damn thrilling. The elevator thing that you're in, which thankfully has a seatbelt, it bumps up and down, feels like you're moving up and down, side to side. You got the rhino-looking thing that appears on screen. I know there's a specific name for him. Keep in mind, I'm not a die-hard Potter fan, so I don't know the exact names of these characters and things, but just cut me some slack. Yeah, you could tell what's a screen effect, and then, of course, there's obviously an animatronic of it that is right there. I mean, it looks amazing, and the attraction is incredible, too. So, yeah, I guess you could say it does more than enough justice for the Harry Potter franchise, and, well, Universal, once again, has outdone themselves with making Harry Potter and the Wizarding World just as magical and awesome as ever. And yes, you also do get a photo on this ride. Again, just like Monsters Unchained, I did not buy it on this one. But hey, it's not always about the photo, it's about the ride. And this one is awesome. So, my final verdict is a Rockin' Wii Motion Plus up and a Plain Wear mode up. Yep, the Wizarding World has done it again. So, on to the next land, the Isle of Berk. That's right, from the epic DreamWorks animated movie franchise. Disney has princesses, SeaWorld has sea creatures. Here, we have dragons. Now once again, I didn't get on every single attraction, and there's about 3 of them here. There's a spinning ride, and there's of course a boat ride, which unfortunately was going through some technical difficulties, and I heard it's one where you spray people or spray things, and well, I wanted to do obviously the one that was voted the best one and most critically acclaimed, Hiccup's Wing Glider. Made by Intamin, a company that I don't think needs any introduction. TheCoaster, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. I mean, Universal is on a win streak with this company, and this coaster is no exception. Now, unlike TheCoaster and Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike, this one is all about the scenery. It's not about the speed or the drops. There's no inversions. It's a little more family-friendly in comparison to those two. It's just simply about the overall presentation and joy. And this one gives you just that. If you love the movies, I mean, just look at this entrance. Obviously, it's supposed to resemble Hiccup's house in the movies because that's who it's themed around. And even though the wait time actually said 55 minutes, it only ended up being about 30 minutes. Yeah, it was surprisingly quick. And I should also mention, just like Stardust Racers, you are required to put any loose articles like your phones and stuff in lockers, which is kind of funny considering this one's not nearly as intense. But okay, it does feature a few accelerations and parts where you're going a little fast around twists and turns and small drops, but it's not nearly as fast or intense as that one, and there's no inversions like I said before. But okay, whatever. You do this right before you enter the boarding station, and I should mention that there's not one, but actually 2 boarding platforms to get on the ride, which I guess explains why the wait times were not as long as they said they were. And even if you do have a long wait, you still have an awesome queue line like all the other attractions in this park. I mean, just look at all this. Look at this attention to detailing. You got the rock formations here. You got all the tools and stuff like you've seen in the movies, the workbench here, and all this Viking themed stuff. I mean, once again, Universal has outdone themselves, and they didn't cheap out when it comes to attention to detailing here. And you think the queue line is cool, just wait till you get on the ride. When you do that, you leave the station, the music plays, you hear the voice of Hiccup talking about how he's launching you, and you approach the first launch. After going around a couple of hills at a pretty slow and tame speed, you see a really amazing animatronic of both Hiccup and his dragon, Toothless, as they send you up the first hill at a pretty thrilling and launch speed. It's not too fast, like I said. It is thrilling, but man, as I said, the scenery and the music and everything, it fits it so well. And for any fans of this movie franchise, it'll leave a smile on your face for sure as you're accelerating around these twists and turns, and then over the water, under the bridge, around a couple more twists and turns until you make another stop. Here you encounter a bunch of little dragon eggs, with Hiccup still talking and warning you about them. They then hatch as you're sent up the second launch, where you go up and down another hill, and through this building where it actually has a bunch of small little dragon houses and animatronic dragons, which I have to admit is another nice little added touch there. As you go through several more twists and turns with the music, and in case you're wondering, the music is called Test Drive, and it's from the very first How to Train Your Dragon movie. Can't say how much more joy it'll bring for any fan, especially of this movie franchise, and it sure did for me. After watching these films, I can safely say Universal once again has a win right here, because this ride, despite not being the fastest or the one with the biggest drops or any inversions, though maybe it could have been a little bit longer. I mean, that's really the only complaint I have with this ride, is that it's over a little too soon. But otherwise, I could safely say that Intamin has yet another win with Universal, because this right here is the star of the show in the Isle of Berk in Epic Universe. And yes, you get a photo on this ride. There I am. I couldn't say no this time around, because this ride is probably one of my favorites in this brand new Universal park. So, my final verdict is, we're rocking 2 Wii remotes with Wii Motion Pluses up. That's right, people. This dragon definitely flies high. So, next ride, moving into Super Nintendo World. That's right. You already know off the bat, I grew up a die-hard Nintendo fan, even though, of course, I played Sega, Xbox, and PlayStation, but, man, I was super excited to get into this section, and wow, talk about not only super crowded, but super awesome. I mean, the attention to detailing as soon as you walk into this area. Like I said, each section is one way in, one way out through a portal pipe, and this one, of course, is no exception to that. It actually literally is a green pipe, just like in the games. And as soon as you walk through, it makes that sound effect, just like, you know, when Mario or Luigi, whatever character you're playing as, goes through the pipe. And, man, I was just lost for words the attention to detailing they put into this section, just like everything else in this whole entire park. I mean, it's great to see, for one thing, that with everything in this park, there's not a single screen. It's all mostly physical objects and practical effects. And with this section, it looks incredible. I mean, it really feels like you're in Nintendo World. And of course, as soon as you walk in, it's all Mario. You know, you have like that Thwomp character, you got the piranha plants, you got all these boxes, you know, you punch the bottom of them or hit your head on them, it makes the sound effect. Yeah, you got tons of interactive stuff here. And of course, you got a couple rides. I did not go on the Yoshi ride, unfortunately. I'm assuming that's more of a calm, family-friendly attraction with some nice-looking scenery, judging by the YouTube videos that I've seen of the point of views. But I did do the Mario Kart attraction, which is called Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge. And, well, I will compliment the scenery on the queue line. Of course, as soon as you walk in, it looks like Bowser's Castle, a big Bowser statue, and all the stuff, like all the enemies, like the bombs, and those wind-up things that he throws, like in Super Mario World at the end when you're facing him. You got the Bullet Bill cannon, all the big chains and everything. Like I said, it's all physical objects, and not screens. As you're walking through the queue, you're handed a Mario helmet, and this is part of the ride. It's a little plastic helmet with the M logo on it, because of course it's a Mario Kart attraction. And as you finally board the cart, there's several of them, and yeah, the line for this can get a little lengthy. Even with the single rider line, which I went on, with some of these rides, it doesn't always save time. And, well, the ride itself has a pair of goggles built into it for each rider, and you attach them to the little plastic helmet that they give you, and you steer the wheel along with 3 other people on the cart, and it tells you when you're looking through the goggles what you have to do. Now, don't get me wrong, this looked great, and I admire the attention to detailing before you get on the thing, and even through the screen and everything, but it felt more like a rail shooter than an actual Mario Kart ride. I mean, the cart is attached to a track, almost similarly to how the Men in Black ride is, and just like that, it does move and spin around side to side. But with that, every time you spin, it's much more fast and thrilling. But with this, it's really not. It's much slower, and you obviously need the goggles to get the full feel and experience of what this attraction's like. And, well, it doesn't really so much feel like a ride. I can understand they're trying to make this feel as immersive as possible, and okay, if you were tasked with trying to make this game franchise into a ride, it's no easy one. I get it. And obviously you couldn't be driving around and throwing stuff at each other because it could become injurious. And obviously they wanted to make it more than just a plain go-kart ride that you've seen at pretty much any theme park that has one. So they wanted to give it more variety, which I get it. I'll give them some credit where it's due. I admire a lot of the scenery and everything, the color variety and the music and the sound effects. It's all there. It should seem familiar for anybody who's played any of the Mario Kart games. It starts out with the racing Lakitu. You're going through and there's a bunch of practical effects which look great. You got the piranha plants, the chomp and everything like that. But then again, you can also tell what's a screen effect and, well, it just feels like a little more effort could have been put into here. And with the goggles on, it just feels a bit distracting. It doesn't really feel like a VR ride. It just, once again, it feels more like a rail shooter. And, well, kind of hard to explain, and I'll do the best I can because I had a difficult time trying to understand this ride and how it works and the mechanics and everything. Supposedly you collect coins and items and you have to try to shoot them at whatever's trying to attack you, whether it's this fish thing or this Bowser thing on fire. Yeah, as I said, there's a bunch of things that you only can see through the goggles, and I should mention the wheel that you can turn left and right. It shows up through the goggles and it tells you whether to turn left or right at any moment. And I'm not sure if that really does anything considering every other person in the cart has a wheel as well. Not to mention, there's these 2 top buttons on both the left and right side of the wheel, which you use to shoot at whatever comes up on the goggles or, like I said, these big things. And I guess it racks up a score. Yes, it's also a race too, to the end, but I'm assuming it's not so much about trying to finish because it's not really a race. As I said, it's more of a rail shooter. I know I'm sounding like a broken record here on that, but that's really all it feels like. But it does throw the environments in there that should seem familiar for anybody who's played the Mario Kart games. You do have the outdoor one with the castle and the thwomps, as well as the underground one with the piranha plants, as I said. Then you got the underwater one with all the different sea creatures and that fish. And then you got the haunted house. And then you go into the clouds. And then you go into the lava world. And that's where that giant lava rock formation of Bowser appears, as well as a physical version of the Bowser's airship. And then finally, with an old favorite, the Rainbow Road. And yes, as I said, even though it's not technically a race, they try to make it feel like it, there always is a winner. Whether it's Team Bowser or Team Mario, it all depends on which cart you get in. So, shoot away, steer the wheel in the direction it tells you, whatever it takes to try to win. It's always a different outcome of which team wins. So I can't say this ride is bad, it's just decent. And I know, it could have been a lot better. But I guess they wanted it, since it's based off of a game, to play like a game. That's fine. I mean, if you like the Mario Kart games, and if you have kids who love them too as well, you may get your kicks. It has nice family-friendly atmosphere. Even though it's not very thrilling, it's, I guess, a ride for all ages. But for me, I expected much better. So, my final verdict is 2 plain Wii Remotes up. You may like it or you may not. It's just my opinion, people. So, anyway, on to the very last attraction that I went on at the park. Moving on into the jungles of Donkey Kong Country territory, Minecart Madness. Yeah, I was super excited and interested to see how they were going to pull this off. And after playing the games on Super Nintendo and Wii and Wii U, which obviously that version got ported to the Nintendo Switch. Of course, well, we also have Donkey Kong Bonanza with a few minecart levels as well, but let's not get off track here. Yeah, this ride was a very ambitious concept to feel like you're jumping from track to track, and I was interested to see how exactly they were going to pull this off. And I thought that for a second, are they going to use just a bunch of 3D screens to try to simulate the whole feel and be lazy about it? But no, they actually took their time with this to really think this over and make it work. What they did was they used sort of a track underneath the track to hold up the weight of the minecart. And yeah, it was a lot of science and a lot of thinking of how this was going to work to make it look like it was going from one broken track to another broken one to make it look like you were making that jump. And I would say they pulled it off pretty well. Now, this isn't a perfect ride. I will say there are some flaws that you will probably notice. Like there's moments you're going to be able to see that track that's supposed to be hidden. Yeah, painting it is one thing to try to blend it in, but you still notice it. But I do have to compliment a lot of things. The queue line. Like any of these rides at the park, it looks fantastic. I mean, that giant gold monkey statue with the bananas on it, that should be plenty enough to lure you in. Even before you walk into it, you got the little thing with the rhino that comes out with the bongos. You got all the trees and everything to resemble a jungle. Top notch there. And the ride queue itself is no exception. You got Cranky Kong, the parrot, and a bunch of things that look cool. But the rest of it's kind of a little blank and could have used a little more added touch to it. And not to mention, the single rider line, which is the one I waited on, it can move a little slow. So that's one downside, especially being that this ride only seats 4 people. After all, it is just a small minecart. But when you go on the ride, there's tons of animatronic effects. You know, you got all the characters from the game. You got another minecart with Donkey Kong, as it looks like it's almost about to hit you. Dixie Kong and all the stuff that makes you look like you're going up and through that cannon barrel thing that shoots you out. Got one part where you go right over the water. You got all the sound effects, the music and everything. It looks and sounds amazing. It actually resembles more of Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze because for one thing, you got here the checkpoint pig. You don't see that in the Super Nintendo games, obviously. And for the most part, I was pretty immersed in it. I mean, yeah, there are some parts that will feel a little rough and can kind of throw you around a little bit with this kind of concept, you know, like I said, with jumping the tracks, because there's moments where it's going to go side to side, so it's not really going to be the smoothest part of the ride. But I kind of expected it, and I've been on much rougher coasters than this one, trust me. And of course, you also do get a picture on it. There I am right there. You can see how thrilled and happy I was. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But after all the waits and everything that I went through to get on this ride, well, I can't say it's perfect, but it was just a good fun time. It works. It's good enough to give that monkey inside of you a banana and have a good time. Maybe not flawless, but enough to just enjoy it for what it is. So, my final verdict is a Wii Remote Wii Motion Plus up and a plain Wii Remote up. I enjoyed it, even after playing the games, and I'm happy to see it brought to life. So, that about wraps it up. I know, like I said, I didn't get on every single attraction, but I can safely say after going here and all the scenery and just the overall presentation of this entire park, especially with the fountains and being lit up at night, and, well, okay, many of you are going to complain. There's so many downtimes on these rides with breakdowns, and of course the wait times are too long. People, it's a new park. It's going to be like that. Every ride is like that when it first opens. Just deal with it. Go for the fun, And of course you could buy Express Pass, but, you know, have your checkbook or a couple $100 ready, depending on how many people you're getting it for. But you can't argue, the scenery, the design and everything, it makes this park super epic. And it was great going for the first time to a new park during its opening year. I guess you could say, first time for everything. So, till next time, keep watching.